Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Saturation Sound Podcast. I'm your host, Zach, and I'll be interviewing various musicians, producers, and persons of other vocations associated with bringing you the music you love. My main focus is on sharing wisdom that is particularly suited to helping music makers on the indie, underground, and DIY level build their craft as they try to make their way in the world of music. If you enjoy this podcast, please follow Saturation Sound on Facebook and on Instagram at saturation.sound. If you really enjoy this project and want to support me and keep tabs on my music, production work, and potentially submit questions for future episodes beyond the pilot of this podcast, I've set up a Patreon page at patreon.com/saturationsark. That's saturation, Z-A-R-K-E, all one word. You will also be able to find links and social media handles for any local bands, artists, or hustles we name drop in the show notes or description, depending on where you're listening. Today's guest is Alex Purcell, a Toronto-based producer and guitarist who has released music as the Purcell Project and the jazz trio Tenshi, and has recently collaborated with artists including Kylie, Holly Clausius, and Nothing Man. In the episode, we discussed building a network of high-caliber musical accomplices, the education revolution in the information age, and Alex's journey in becoming a producer and adapting to changing circumstances. Alex can be found on Instagram at the Purcell Project, all one word, and at thepurcellproject.com. I hope you enjoyed the episode. How's your weekend been so far?
So far, so good. I'm just about to get back into courses at Ryerson, so I'm doing some studying in advance of that.
Oh yeah? As in a teaching capacity?
No, these are courses for business and small business-minded folk.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is just advancing your own studies.
Yeah, literally. It's COVID studying, baby.
Yes. No, but we're all about that here. We're all about, personal growth, personal development, and expanding your own skill sets, becoming more...
Yeah, I thought it'd be cool to do something non-music for once, too, you know?
Yeah. Well, because that's one of the things that we want to preach here is being versatile as musicians, because that's one of the things that is kind of needed in order to hack it and be successful.
To survive.
Yeah, especially in these days.
Even to survive.
Yeah, and it's like, especially as musicians, you kind of need to be entrepreneurial to a degree. So if you're talking about small business and business development, that is right up in what's necessary.
Yeah, no, and I thought like doing Ryerson for for business, they tout themselves as Canada's leading business school. So I just wanted to get some of that, and I have tons of things I could be doing, but yeah, this is one of the most important things to be doing for sure.
Exactly. So how about you introduce yourself, because I know you, and I'm sure that some people who end up listening know you, but not everyone's going to know you.
For those of you who don't know me, my name's Alex Purcell. I'm known as the Purcell Project on Instagram and Facebook, but I'm basically a producer working out of Toronto. And I work with the whole, assortment of musicians from, folk, rock, electronic, pop, jazz, whatever comes in, I try to deal with it and just, make the most of online collaborations, because obviously I was previously a gigging musician in the scene, but nowadays you can find me, surfing the sound web. And connecting people, also just connecting people to each other.
Exactly. And that is something that, I haven't known you for super long. I haven't been face to face with you very much, but usually whenever we come into contact, it seems that there's lots of very talented and somewhat accomplished musicians around you. How do you build this network?
I think yes, you want to have a scene, like people that you can jive with, mingle with, and respect. Ultimately, I do think anyone that you work with should be someone that you respect or like or can get along with on a human level at first. And if you get those people, then you connect them to your web, and then your own personal network seems to keep growing. And it's a very natural thing. It's not like LinkedIn where you're just like trying to click the connection button. It's like these are real people who have likes and dislikes. So you have to be listening to them, and then they will grow naturally.
Exactly. So But for instance, so where have you met many of the people that you come across? Are they people you've met through the gigging scene way back when in the good olden days when we could still do that? Are they old school acquaintances? What? Give me some examples.
Since I came from the East Coast when I was 18, I basically had to start fresh, and it was my plan to go through the music school scene here in Toronto, specifically Humber College, and then I would branch out through there, and so yeah, I did most of my networking through colleagues at school when I was younger, and that was my initial hub for gigs, for everything. And outside of that, after school, I basically entered like the amateur slash professional gigging scene. But in order to get there, I had to meet people in bars and literally, find out what they were interested in, and then through then I would discover open mics, and then through then I would discover recording opportunities and this and that.
So you went just straight ground level there, pretty much,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
outside of the school
After
scene.
I had some education, and then I took that to the streets. Yeah,
Quite literally, quite
literally.
literally.
Yeah, and the whole online thing has been the most recent development, is meeting people not in person, and that's perhaps been the most fascinating form of the street that I've been working with
Mhm.
recently.
Yeah, do you want to elaborate on that? Because honestly, the idea of cold calling people online just weirds me right out just because of my own personal predisposition. Do you have any insight as to how you can make it less awkward, less kind of like a robocaller?
Of course, you like everyone's like, oh, I want to work with this like hit producer or something. Like, how am I gonna get in touch with them? But it doesn't need to be so weird, because chances are you and that person are connected on some level. It could be just the human level that you dig their sound, and that's enough, and that's more than enough.
Hmm.
If you have something, compliment that person. Say, I liked what you did on this and that, and or I just like your general aesthetic.
So you're kind of
Um,
reaching out on a fan level before you're reaching out on a professional level.
yeah, that's what it goes back to respect, and you have to respect what that person is doing. If you like
Hmm.
how their beats sound, you should tell them. um, if you admire their lyrics and their vocals, you got to make that clear. And yeah, you can do that just DMs. Like, you just got to DM. And I know it's awkward in the beginning, but once you get used to doing that, your connections and your network will grow even faster than meeting people on the street.
Hmm.
And that's something I wish I knew back then, for sure. I'm
Excellent.
still learning it, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, it's like any, interpersonal development thing. It's especially if you're more of an introverted person, it takes some time to just get comfortable with it, right?
Yeah. No, I get that. Artists are introverts. That's like another that's a hurdle. You just want to
Yeah.
work on your sound in your cave, and but you know, you have to get beyond yourself and realize that you cannot do this alone. And at some point, you will need some help, whether it's a mentor, or just, a bass player. Like, you're just gonna, like yourself,
Thank
Zachary
you.
on the bass. Um,
Yeah, I try to avoid talking about myself on this, but I'm sure
I
it'll come
thought
up
so, but
occasionally.
you can't escape that, man.
I'm not the star of the show here.
You're a crazy good bassist, and
Oh,
amongst
thank
other
you.
things. So, but yeah, that's my advice, is to get used to it, because this is how we're going to be working, and at least for a while.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, so kind of throwing back to before COVID times. I've known you to wear multiple hats. So you mentioned doing the gigging musician thing. You've mentioned that you teach lessons. You're doing producing now. Like, what all have you done?
I guess some things that often like slip by the wayside, besides like those things, I've done a fair amount of composing for film, short film mostly.
Hmm.
Um, so that's like a different kind of beast. I'm not deep into that world, but I see like how there's
Yeah.
a production side to music that is perhaps the most lucrative area. So for anyone who really wants to see beyond the stage, like, there are just so many other avenues for creative composing. And if you are a composer, it's not just about thinking, oh, I hope someone likes my songs. It should be about, oh, well, what are all the avenues for this music? How can I package it? I know you don't want to hear that, but how can I package it for different media and for different forms of expression.
Yeah, don't be afraid of the P word. I mean, even you describe yourself as a producer now, but you're producing a product. I mean, unfortunately, with the reality of the situation is we're living in capitalism. We have to bring in money to fill our bellies, keep roofs over our heads.
Yes, literally, and it's yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. And like, if you're going to be surviving and thriving, you must find more than just the scene. Like the scene's gonna love your music, your friends are gonna love it, but who else could love it?
Hmm.
Who else would buy it?
Exactly,
So
exactly. So,
yeah, so
so
yeah.
what sort of films have you written for? Because this is something that I didn't know about until literally right now.
I mostly started off very local. Well, there still is a Humber film and TV program, and a lot of those guys needed music. So I would make friends with them, and then say, okay, what could we do together? And and then I'd end up scoring their projects, and then post school, they kept in contact and asked me to score their trailers or what have you. Little shorts for film festivals.
Hmm.
And it was so fascinating to me because it was a different form of music making where I was tied to the screen.
Yeah.
Um, and like they were my bandmates. These actors on the screen are like they're giving me the input.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, just fascinating. Just on in terms of that. But besides the film composing, I've been a touring musician. I've toured Europe and of course Canada and Western Europe. Yeah, mostly. I have not toured the States. We're gonna see. We're gonna wait for that to happen, probably post pandemic. But
Yeah,
I've
there's a
also, yeah,
lot
I've
there's a
also
lot of
known
stuff
that.
that's going to have to be resolved down there before you pursue that.
Yeah, exactly. And as a Canadian, we have extra troubles getting down there. So, but that's
Hmm.
that's also on my bucket list.
Yeah, I noticed that. My own band was looking at touring the States. I mean, the plan was to do it last year, and then you know what happened with that.
No way, eh?
Yeah,
That is
yeah. But
crazy.
yeah, just looking at some of the requirements and the paperwork and the expense to get down there and their crazy requirements, it was distressingly prohibitive.
Yeah, it is prohibitive, and I've known people to do things all sorts of ways, legal and not legal.
Oh yeah, we
But
definitely saw somebody who tried to do it in a less over the table sort of way, and it kind of bit them in the backside.
oh, it can mess you up for a long time, and like anyway, just on that note, like I recommend to tour Europe. Not necessarily the UK or anything, but there's a lot of awesome Eastern European countries and people that really love music. And so, as far as a touring experience could be, it actually you may be more wanted first to go across the pond than going just south of the border.
Hmm. Hmm.
Even though it seems more daunting, it actually makes a lot more logistical sense. Yeah.
Okay, so throwing back to the film, which ties back to the Humber connection. So it seems like
Right.
you've actually gotten a lot of mileage out of your post-secondary music education.
Tons. Yeah.
Now, I haven't done that, and I'm trying to hack things on my own. And I know that many people are successful in music without pursuing a post-secondary music education.
What is your
Um,
education up to this point?
um, so I actually used to go to school for video game development and entrepreneurship.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of how I kind of curveballed back around into music because okay, I'm gonna monologue about myself a little bit, but
As you should, as you should. Let them know who you are.
yeah. So towards the end of high school, well, through high school, I cultivated a bunch of interests. I got into I started music production as a hobby. Of course, I'd been taking various music lessons since I was a child. I also got into programming in high school as well. So I
Yeah.
thought I would, I've always kind of wanted to entertain people in some capacity. So I figured
Mhm.
the logical step for that would be to pursue video game development. And
That's
then,
so awesome.
yeah, while I was in school for that, I found out about video game sound as a potential avenue. And while I didn't end up completing that degree, it kind of germinated the idea of maybe pursuing audio, not necessarily for video games at first, but with the eventual aim of pivoting back into that.
Mhm.
I've since kind of abandoned that idea, but if it happens to happen in the future, so be it.
Keep open to it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I say.
And because again,
Um,
you don't necessarily know what shape your career is going to take as a musician. You're gonna have to probably pursue multiple avenues to make it happen.
Well, just to like dovetail on the whole like programming
Hmm.
and coding thing, it's like just, right now I'm literally trying to learn how to program JavaScript so I can
Yeah.
make my website
Yes, you
for my
mentioned that in
music
our
business.
little pre-interview.
So I'm literally, I'm learning new skills all the time. And
Hmm.
so those skills that you picked up in that field are extremely valuable and still valid, although we do have to continually update them because these techno worlds are changing so fast.
Exactly, exactly. But to throw it back
Um,
to the thing that I was getting around to is if someone is young and they're approaching the age where they would be looking into post-secondary education, what are
mm.
some of the benefits that you would see into pursuing a music degree, knowing that you don't necessarily need one to be successful in music?
Well, that's just it. Like it was kind of the joke when I was going to music school was like, oh yeah, like the people that are really, gonna make it or blow up, it's gonna like they're gonna leave this program. And that actually happened. Like there was like 4 or 5 people during my year that literally pursued, the Grammys and they got Grammys. Or they were a part of things for nominations and they moved to LA like in their third year.
Hmm.
So it was just like
That actually happened in my program as well. Had a few people leave preemptively to pursue
yeah.
their, various endeavors. But keep going, keep going.
So it makes you wonder, right? It makes you wonder. It shows you that, and they weren't necessarily great students either. Like there's that. So is it right for you? It's such a personal choice. I would say that there is the issues with the music school system are probably that if you go like I don't want to dissuade older students from doing it, but like, do you feel uncomfortable with the idea that you will be in a band or an ensemble situation with 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds in your
Hmm.
mid 20s or 30s, and you're like so that is a potentially a pitfall. I think I recommend people who are either out of high school or 2 years, 2 3 years max out of high school. I don't like again, that's again a personal thing. Like some people
Hmm.
like myself don't mind being with people that are much older or much younger than me. But if you're the kind of person that wants to make friends and like you want them to like get what you're going through, aka living in a crappy apartment in the outskirts of the city and and really like having no money, if you want to be a part of that crowd and drinking a lot because it's still a college program, like let's be honest,
Hmm.
um, then that's for you. But if it's not for you and you really just want to hunker down and study and you want to learn music, just go to the school and figure out who's teaching there. Those are some of the best teachers because those people teach full time. Find those teachers and just take lessons with them privately on your own with your own personal deals. You'll save money and you'll get more information if you have the right work ethic, and it all comes back to your work ethic. I mean, that's a lot, but that's pretty much my 2 cents on
No,
it.
no, but that is a very real world, no bullshit way of going about it.
Yeah, just there were older guys and older gals that went there, and they were just, maybe they just left because they just didn't like the vibe. You
Hmm.
have to like the vibe, and it's a very young kind of vibe
Yeah.
until third and fourth year where things get a bit more. People are like, if you stay to your third year, you obviously want this. You want the upper courses that are offered at Humber College, for instance, that are amazing: film scoring, improvisation, advanced recording, all these really cool
Hmm.
classes. But the first 2 years are like kind of a grind on music theory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So to kind of recap, so you think that the pros would definitely be sowing the seeds of building your network at first because you're surrounded by a bunch of people who are in it.
They're people like you. If you're considering this program and you got into this program, like they're people like you. They're
Hmm.
very similar to you.
Exactly, exactly. Which is
And
hugely beneficial, especially because, yeah, they are going to be people like you, but they are going to be different people. So you're going to have that common touch of, wanting to seriously pursue music in a professional capacity,
you
probably.
get some of the best musicians from across the
Hmm.
country. I am from little old Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and there are people from Newfoundland, and there are people from BC, and or
Hmm.
international. You have, you're going up against the international people that audition. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's a heavy crew, and like, so I think if anyone's considering this, the time to start is actually when you're 16.
Yeah.
The audition preparation is, you hopefully have had some experience just growing up and since you could play. And yeah, hopefully at a young age you've been getting into music. It's competitive, and I hate that side of it, but they can only let in so many people to these schools. They are audition based. Doesn't matter how much money you have.
So you mentioned the international students. So kind of as a fun aside, what's like the craziest place one of your course mates came from?
We have a lot of students from Korea in Humber College.
Hmm.
They literally come. They know about the program. There's a connection. Like Humber College advertises in certain countries, so Korea and China have like affiliations with the college, and these Asian countries are bringing in amazing students, and they're soaking it all up. So obviously, Humber College has a mandate to make sure it's domestic and international is like evenly balanced, but you're going to get people from across the world. It's fantastic. European, UK, English, yeah, totally. And the States, of course, we get people coming up who are like, I don't want to go to Berkeley. I want to go to Humber College, and they do that. It's cool.
Yeah. No. Oh man, definitely. You mentioned Berkeley, but that was definitely an interesting place. I haven't crossed paths with too many Berkeley musicians, but there was one band that I crossed paths with way back in, what was it, the end of 2017, called Bat House, and those people were pretty next level.
Bat House.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I will say one thing about Berkeley is that because they're such a large program, they can afford to let in more people. So it actually will be easier to get into Berkeley than Humber College.
Really?
Yes, it would be. Even though it's more esteemed, it would actually, just due to numbers, it would be less. Yeah. And so they are more of a catch-all. They have a wide variety of programs. I'm not trying to be like nerdy about it. If you want to like get into specifics, like there are. Thank you.
That's what
there
we're
are different
about here.
programs. There are programs that have more space, and there are programs that have less space, and they do that on purpose or by, And I've written about this in before, and I've researched about it, and there are good things and there are bad things about music education in schools and upper. We could have that discussion in general, but like it's kind of like it does divide people, and you have to think, is this the right thing? This system also needs to be improved.
Yeah.
Privilege, right? Privilege. We're talking about privilege.
Very much. Especially, again, throwing back to the whole capitalism thing, where since education is unfortunately a commodity and not a right, it definitely excludes many people who might be, if you're talking by personal merit or talent or whatever metric you want to be, who by all rights should be there because of many exclusive factors in the world, because, education is a product. It's
If you have education right now from your home, then you're a lucky person. Like if you're getting some education, that's amazing.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think with the information age, the digital revolution, and a lot of growing DIY ethic just globally, it really has been opening that up. I think the main problem that a lot of people have is they don't know where to start, and they don't know what they don't know. So maybe one of the big things potential business idea, throw it out there, wouldn't necessarily be teaching a course yourself online, but maybe actually just creating a syllabus that is conglomerating all these different resources that exist, that are out there, because there are so many people that are putting out great information. Just someone might not necessarily know where to start because it's a mind flood.
Yeah. If you can be an arbiter or someone who organizes that information, that is a value.
Yeah, somebody who's just crawling the web, looking up different high quality, everything, whether it be free content, premium content, and basically just assembling syllabi, selling those as little like $30 packages or something.
Yeah, no, the internet is like right now, obviously because of the pandemic, like the boom of internet education is happening right now. So like all of these courses, people are just generating content and courses, and like because they know it's like that people are searching for these things right now because it's all we can do to stay sane and to learn.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, look at this podcast as it is. Like, we're trying to give people knowledge as is, and unfortunately,
yes, this is educational content.
Yes,
right now.
it is, and part of the ethic here is preaching like diversity, but because of that, we can't focus in on a given thing and talk to an individual person and say, hey, you should probably be studying this. The only thing we can do is go over multiple topics with diverse people and just hopefully inspire, somebody who might be listening to
Yes.
pursue these things on their own, like show them a potential path.
Yes, there are many
Hmm.
paths, and I think that's the most important takeaway here is no, you don't have to do what someone else is doing, what I've done, what Zach's here doing, what he's done. You need to, find your truth and be that someone that you wanted to be. And in order to do that, you're going to have to take a chance and let it go. And it's probably gonna, it could fail. Most
Yeah.
likely, you fail, and you must fail in order to learn from that mistake. But chances are, if you're going for music education, then you've already reached a certain level in yourself and your own
Yeah.
confidence as a performer, and it's right for you. So I encourage you to do that. If you're new to the game, then I think there are so many other avenues to consider than traditional avenues.
So, in hindsight, would you, if you had a chance to go back and change your path, would you have?
I would not have changed my path for Humber College. I would
Hmm.
have changed my master's. I did a master's after Humber College because I thought more education is good and I must do it while I'm young. I did a master's in ethnomusicology at York, which was yeah, that was a mistake. Like going to learning from your failures. I learned that I don't like studying about music, like the academic, like just book smart music academia was not for me. And although I'm very academic minded and I like papers
Hmm.
and researching, there was something that was stifling me at that time, and I just couldn't vibe with it, and I couldn't
Yeah.
vibe with the people there, and it wasn't right for me. And so I didn't finish it. Like I did all my coursework, but I never did a thesis. I was like, I don't really have this statement I want to make right now about music
Hmm.
academia. So yeah, that's what I learned right now is that when you really want to learn something, you need to be sure of it. I wasn't 100% sure of it, and that
Yeah.
was the mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just for the sake of anyone who might be curious, for anyone who can't put assemble it, what is the study of ethnomusicology? I mean,
Like,
I can assemble it, and I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about. But just for somebody who doesn't know what this
oh,
is,
that's the
elaborate.
messed up thing. Like I can't believe I was studying something that like the general person can't even, explain, It was just like when you first study that course, the first thing you have to learn is how to like rationalize this study.
Well,
It's
but I do think it is from what I'm assuming. I do think it is a valuable course of study because what is globalism without that globe, right?
Yes, I mean the problem is, I guess like any study, anyology, it's like it's rooted in racism and people who are the have-nots and the haves,
Hmm.
and essentially it was like initially like these white people going to Africa and recording music of other tribes and cultures and saying, look at the music of
This
this and that.
particular
So
this particular region at this
yes, this
particular place
particular
and
region, this
time,
particular
and
people, and studying it as a ethno music, and so, but like it has grown and developed into a much more, I guess, yeah, elevated under thinking of what people and music is and how people interact with music,
hmm.
and so yeah, you can see that stuff from a cultural standpoint, and you can learn a lot about. So much more than just the music. I guess. Yeah.
Just to whet somebody's appetite in case an elevated form of study of how different cultures produce and relate to their own music. Just whet somebody's appetite. What's kind of something interesting that they could start reading
I
into?
don't know. You could pick video game music as your area of focus and be like, okay, well, how is video game music connecting with the youths of today? How is it like making these kids stay glued in 24 hours?
Hmm.
Like, what about those loops, those cyclical things that are totally, on beat, but are still, evolving? Like, how does those electronic sounds
Hmm.
mesh with a 21st century child? Like, what's the implications of that? So you're kind of studying, okay, there's some effect on the kids that actually makes them want to play this game. And so that's like a really interesting
Yeah,
thing.
I won't lie. The Doom 2016 soundtrack is what made me want to play Doom. Have you studied that one at all?
No, but you
Oh
get
man,
exactly what
there
I'm saying
there's
is that you
a
could study that.
there's a GDC conference by the composer producer Mick Gordon, and it is so amusing and very insightful, and you'd probably get a huge kick out of that. GDC
That
Mick
sounds
Gordon,
awesome.
Doom
You forward
2016.
that to me, please. Yeah, let me know.
Yes, yes, I'll make a note of that right now.
But yeah, so it doesn't. That's what I mean. Like the times have changed, and ethnomusicology is now a study of pop music, video game music, blues music, rock music, and
Hmm.
all of that. So yeah,
All
but
right.
still, it was just not my cup of tea. I wanted to at that time. I wanted to gig and I wanted to play and travel the world. So
Hmm. You mentioned video gaming. Like, is that a habit of yours at all? Have you?
I game. Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
gaming a lot. Yeah,
Or,
I thought about Twitch. Actually, I thought about twitching. Like I
yeah.
tried. I set up a stream and I was like, nah, this would be fun.
Well, you know,
But yeah,
well, live streaming has become one of those important avenues for musicians in the COVID area. I've even
yeah,
started dipping a toe into it, mostly just kind of socialize with my immediate core of friends, but I am
yeah.
kind of using it to get myself in the habit of regularly putting my music in, or at least my noodling in a more public-facing capacity.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's an open forum. It's a
Hmm.
live stage. It's everything you need it to be. When people see that red live thing, it kind of gets them excited. So yeah, no, seriously, it's like they're in the studio.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's an awesome avenue. I would like to pursue it more, but of course, my time is stretched pretty thin right now, as it
Yeah.
is with producing recorded music.
Hmm.
But it's awesome. It's totally awesome. I love it. I've done a bit of streaming, professional streams for like gigs, like paid gigs.
Yeah.
Like that's an awesome avenue. So
Excellent.
it
Excellent.
exists, people. We can still gig.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Um,
is.
it is out there.
When this was first kicking off, I was actually strongly considering trying to assemble a service for that myself, because I have a somewhat portable studio rig. I have a bunch of microphones. I have a pretty compact but high input audio interface, and I did have the idea of being able to go out and assist with that. The only problem is myself and my immediate contacts didn't have a good solution for the video component of it. Because
Right.
sure, you can live stream the audio, but having a stable enough network connection on location to do
Oh,
high quality
that's a huge
video,
challenge. Yeah, that's a huge challenge. Yeah.
potentially with multiple camera angles, because
Oh
you
gosh.
want to be able to be dynamic. You don't just want to have one camera standing in front of four people who are doing their best to emote, but you can't focus in on somebody, and you use that visual medium of expression to help build excitement.
Right. Yeah. You're totally with that flat view.
Hmm.
It does not work so well. I've seen that for sure. But that's all we got these days, man. And sometimes that's enough. Like, well, people will take some grainy iPhone footage, over nothing. So, don't. I think that's another thing people need to realize is that you don't necessarily need to have all of the tech. Like right now, like you should
Yeah.
start. Your phone is enough, and just set it up. And for those who haven't done it yet,
Hmm.
there's just so much you can do. And then as you progress, you can add
Yeah.
levels, you can get your loop back going, you can,
Loopback is
do.
essential for what I'm doing.
Yeah, I agree. Me too. And I just wish it was not so overpriced. But
Hmm. Oh man, but see, things don't even have to be crazy overpriced. I mean, so I mentioned struggling with the video side of things for that service that I was considering, but for
yeah,
my own stuff, I don't have an actual. Well, actually, my laptop has a webcam, but for my office studio setup, I don't have a webcam.
mhm.
As you can't see right now, I don't have a webcam connected to this thing that I'm talking to you on right now, and this is an
Yeah. So
audio
you're
based.
recording video, but you're going to put it up later, I guess. Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm not even recording video. This is going to be
You're not doing video?
This is
Then
going to
why
be
are we even
strictly
looking at
audio
me?
only. Hey, I'm making this podcast for people like myself. I just listen to these things. I binge these things at work because my hands alone are not enough to keep my brain from chewing itself to
Yeah.
pieces.
No, I'm into the just audio
Hmm.
component for sure.
Yeah, but
Uh,
as I was about to say, so I don't have a proper webcam for this. So when I'm doing my streams, what do I do for the video component? I actually have this super cheap, like not good at all dash cam, which can connect via USB and actually serve as just a generic UVC video
Right.
capture device, and
Nice.
it is so cheap that it does not produce a stable image. So the fidelity is horrible. Like it claims to be 1080p. I feel like it's upscaled 480.
Amazing. I love that. Give me that 480 any
And
day.
and hold on, it gets worse. So the data transfer is not stable either. So like frequently and periodically, it'll just like jitter and flash and produce like colored blocks all across the screen.
Yeah, for sure. Oh,
But
nasty.
but if you've caught any of the streams that I've been doing, like I'm using this to its full capacity. So I'm using, I'm taking old photographs that I have from way back when, doing like crazy color in massive air quotes correction, using this crappy dash cam with a luma key, so you're only getting bits of the image coming through as it's spasming and corrupting itself.
That's
And
pretty trippy.
you can use these weaknesses in these very cheap, accessible, affordable things to, reinforce an aesthetic, right? So
The
it's
DIY aesthetic of which you speak
exactly
of.
we're all about that DIY here.
Yeah.
You're taking what you've got and using it to reinforce some creative vision in some capacity. You can do it. You can do
Yes,
it.
that's so intelligent of you to say that it's so much more than the dollars you have. It's about what you do with it. And there was a
Exactly.
Gandalf quote in there somewhere. Darn it. It's not the time you have, it's the what you do with it that
did
matters, or something like that.
did
Lord of the
they
Rings.
mention finance in any capacity, like any form of currency or payment in Lord of the Rings?
I think it's just gold. I think it's just
It's been a
gold.
long time since I've read those books and or
I,
even seen the movies, but I'm racking my memory and I can't remember seeing any coins or forms of currency pass between hands in that series.
I think it's just like, yeah, bags of money. You don't necessarily know what's in it, but it's probably just like, I always imagined it was just gold coins,
Maybe.
forged in the pits of Sauron's castle. Yeah.
Oh
Um,
man, that's a critique on the modern monetary system if I've ever heard one.
yeah, man. I mean, well, speaking of, oh my gosh, Bitcoin.
Oh
Oh
man,
man. Anyway,
are you on that crypto
whatever.
train?
Yeah, I'm on the train, but like it's just crazy.
Yeah. Are you doing it in are you doing it kind of for investing purposes, or are you doing it just for the sake of having a
I don't
global
know.
untrackable privacy coin?
I I mean, it's a funny thing to invest in because it's just so
So
outrageous.
ballistic.
But yeah, it's I can't. I don't know if I can call it an investment. I'm just like it's just so exciting that I can't ignore it. Yeah,
So it's more of an entertainment avenue more than anything
it's
else.
kind of entertainment.
And if you happen to profit off of it, great.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'd also be like excited if it just plummeted. Like that would be awesome
Because you know that, oh man, I might have lost a few dollars here, but there's going to be some people
too.
who are actually just shitting themselves.
Oh yeah, no, the people who are like millions into this, that like wow.
Hmm.
That'll be intense. Armies falling. Um,
Yeah,
anyway, I don't know how the hell we got so off the track, but
but
that happens
that's
in
half the
these
fun
things.
with the format sometimes.
It's like, what planet am I on? Zorb. Um,
Exactly. So if we want to kind of get back on to the topic of music in general, like talk about your production career, because how long ago did you start this?
it was started just prior to the. I mean, I've always been sending tracks,
Hmm.
to band members who wanted to, I'd be
Yeah, like internal demos.
occasionally a band would be like, okay, let's do this next record. We're going to record it separately. Let's, do our best.
Hmm.
So we've all done that before. The recording industry has done that for years, sending stuff across the country.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I never saw it as like, oh, this was going to be my main gig. I
Hmm.
just thought, oh, I'll send a guitar track once in a while.
Yeah, it was a
And
supplemental skill so you could be a better bandmate.
yeah, exactly. It was being a part of the band. And then that slowly, I wanted to do I wanted to produce a couple singer-songwriters in like early fall before the pandemic. I was like, okay, I want to make you a song, and we're gonna do it all, in
Hmm.
the box, and let's just do that. And then it started very slow. It was very time consuming at first. I had no idea how to, organize everything, getting basic mixing skills down, all this stuff. There was baby steps involved. And then, the pandemic hit, and that, like, crazy enough, accelerated the learning of these skills by a factor of 10. And I had to, out of necessity, adapt to survive, survive and thrive. Um, so a few months later, I put up my website, reached out to my contacts and said, hey, who wants to make something? Who's feeling creatively unsatisfied and is ready? And people were ready to do it. And they still are. People are just, dying to make something and get it up online, because all the infrastructure is ready for you, all those streaming platforms. We just need the tunes. So we're making them, and people had never been happier. It's brought joy to their lives in a joyless world. It's amazing, man. It's effing awesome to get a vocal from someone and then build the rest and have them hear the symphony they wanted to hear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So describe your workflow. So how much do you typically get from your artist, and how much do you give them? How much back and forth is there during the creation process?
There's probably like a total email count of 20 emails, I would say. 20 emails per song, per full production. So that includes the inception stage where they have, I'm not doing too much writing right now. I guess I consider myself more of an arranger than a writer, but usually I get the demo, and from that moment, there's like 20 back and forths over email, and a process of between 2 weeks to a month before you have your finished song, which I consider like a quite a quick turnaround time. Like if I was recording an EP, and doing all of those steps, like even if I had everyone in the room and stuff, it would still take months and months, because schedules. And this way we don't have to deal with scheduling, because I'm always in my studio. I'm always cranking out tunes. So there's because there's nothing I'd rather do. It's just fun. Yeah. And so I would say from the inception of the demo to the finished master, which is ready for your streaming, we can do it in a month, which is an awesome timeline. And if you want to take longer, you can take longer, but it's often not necessary. An EP could be even further streamlined, because a lot of the settings will stay congruent. We could do your full EP in 3 months. That's a safe estimate. And then an album, we could probably do that in 5. It's because a lot of this stuff is going to be like, once you've heard someone's vocals so many times, how to EQ it. So
I'm assuming that you're not just working on one project at a time, because you can't be asking one person or one band to buy your groceries for a month to 5 months, depending on the size of the project.
At any given time, I have 10 clients on the go.
Oh man. So time management, how do you block things out? Because that is a pretty big workload right there.
A lot of guys say they prefer to have more things going on because it keeps them fresh. Like you don't sit on songs for too long, unless they are, I've had a couple of sitters.
It forces you to be a little more ruthless.
I've had a couple of ruthless projects
keep that killer instinct fresh.
Shout out to my friend Pater, who gave me an epic song.
Just so you know, anyone who you shout out, I'm going to include a link to their stuff in the show notes.
That's cool. Well, yeah. So some of the more epic projects I've done have been Earth and Revolt by Pater, and her track. We really we kind of created it like really almost from the ground up. Like, so there was just so much more, and then we got deep into the weeds on electronics and really nerded out for months. So yeah, that kind of stuff takes longer. But for the average song, we don't need to do that. We just need to have the song and the best way to tell that song in a little audio format. But yeah, the typical process is make your demo. Okay, demo's good. I will make you a guide track. Great. Send your scratch tracks. Great, that'll help me. If it's just a guitar and a voice, that's fine. And then after I have dealt with that, and I send you back this kind of produced track, which has basic mixing and everything you could need to imagine your song.
Yeah.
And then with that skeleton, we just start to edit that skeleton, and it comes together rather quickly. It's all, and the cool thing about it, it's not like the traditional thing where it's like recording, mixing, mastering.
Everything's kind of happening at once in a way.
Love it. Yeah. Well, I love that way of making music.
That's good. That's good.
I'm probably gonna say goodbye to you pretty soon, just to keep the episode nice and tight.
Yeah.
And then people can comment and ask us questions, and we can follow up down the road.
Exactly. I know. I'd love to have you back on again in the future. So
Yeah.
I guess because I know that if you've got 10 projects on the go right now, you're a busy guy. So let's get to the final topic. It's I gave you some homework. What is the album that you would recommend to the audience to help them grow as music listeners and or musicians themselves?
Absolutely. And I can't wait to get more advice from everyone else on what to listen to, because this whole wide world is creating music and at an alarming rate. So, I want to know what's going on. My girlfriend makes fun of me for not being up to date, but I'm going to kick it old school and give you guys, just a classic reference, Kind of Blue by Miles Davis.
All right.
Just one of the, I guess, preemptive jazz records, like not preemptive, but like in terms of what creating the jazz sound that we know today, there wouldn't be so many people in aesthetic of jazz without this record. And Kind of Blue is like kind of chill. So like for most of us that like I actually am not a huge fan of like crazy spastic just like jazz that really is pushing the frontier like by technique. This is more about pushing the frontier in beauty and like in space. So there's so much amazing space on this record, and the chords just ring out, and the musicians are literally talking to each other with sound. So yeah, you can't go wrong with this record.
Excellent. Thank you.
And yeah, just thank you for doing this, man. I mean, like if no one, for anyone who becomes a part of this series, I just hope that like it brings you some joy to do it, and that you're getting something from it, because it's such a nice thing to do, and the community appreciates it. I'm sure of it. So thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for sparing your time. I know that you're busy. I know that you have a lot of stuff on your plate between. Are you still teaching lessons?
Yes.
Yeah. So between teaching lessons, producing for all sorts of bands, I know your time's valuable. So thank you for taking this time.
Of course, and anytime I'm happy to, because this is what matters most. Is anything to keep people inspired as they navigate the new wheel. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you, and I guess we'll sign off.
Yeah, let's go. Let's call it there. And give me a shout anytime. Take care of yourself.